Actually, that nurse is worth her weight in gold, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I owe my life to several people.
George, how did you find carnivore?
How did I find Carnivore? Very much by accident, to be honest with you, Dave, because at the time, I was trying to reverse type 2 diabetes and sort out my metabolic syndrome, including morbid obesity. And I discovered keto through a work colleague of mine. And I had great success on keto. I managed to reverse type 2 diabetes and I lost a lot of kilograms. But then when I discovered YouTube, obviously researching keto, then it kind of brought up carnivore. And the one which caught my eye first was the Kelly Hogan, Dr. Ken Berry video, the Women Eats Only Meat for 13 years. So I studied that and I thought that's amazing. I didn't know that was feasible at all, that the carnivore was even feasible. And I didn't immediately go carnivore because I couldn't see any reason not to eat fibrous, green vegetables, leafy green vegetables, and low carb vegetables. But it was when I discovered Zoe Harkin and Dr. Paul Mason and their comments on fiber. Dr. Paul Mason, obviously, is a compatriot of yours, and Zoe is based over in Cardiff University here in the UK. And I discovered the horrors of fiber, realised that I've been suffering from IBS all my life, and eliminated all vegetables from my diet and all fruit because of fructose. And I suddenly realised I was accidentally a carnivore. So there was no great moment when I said, hey, I'm a carnivore and this is day one. It's been a sort of gradual elimination process. I'm still transitioning now, to be perfectly honest with you, because I'm getting better at it as the time goes on. So yeah, I have to give the credit to Dr. Berry and to Kelly Hogan for my discovery of carnivore.
So, how long has this been now that you're transitioning in?
Right. Okay. So the diagnosis of type 2 diabetes and morbid obesity came in March, very early March of last year. I immediately, the knee-jerk reaction of the doctor was, of course, to assume you had a prescription for metformin and statins. But thankfully, there was a nurse, a diabetes nurse there, who pointed out to me that all carbohydrates, even the savoury ones that don't taste sweet, all turn to sugar in the bloodstream. That gave me the opportunity to start my own research. So I put the prescriptions on the kitchen table and started some research. Now, luckily for me, about 10 years ago, or even longer than that here in the UK, a couple of TV personality chefs or cooks called the Hairy Bikers featured a guy called Professor Roy Taylor from Newcastle University. Now, he was, if you like, the modern day pioneer of reversing type 2 diabetes, but through a very low calorie approach. So I remembered that television series. And I remember at the time I noted down Roy Taylor, and I decided that if ever I got type 2 diabetes, I would, follow his research. So I searched for Professor Roy Taylor, found him, found the very low calorie approach, 800 calories for 6 weeks, and bang, type 2 diabetes had gone. But at the same time, my work colleague introduced me to the idea of the ketogenic diet, which is a low carb approach. So I then researched that, and I went low carb gradually. I didn't know YouTube at this time. I wasn't defined. This was in March, and I wasn't defined YouTube until August for anything other than music. So yeah, I had a great deal of success on the low carb approach. But I was still eating fruit and still eating vegetables, and just counting the macros. He advised me to go less than 50 grams of carbohydrate a day, which I did. And certainly by August, I was confident enough to go and ask for a second set of bloods, because I was down from 133 kilograms down to about 109, I think, or thereabouts. So I went on August the 4th to get another similar test to the one I'd had on in the beginning of March, so 5 months different. And I had all the tests done, and I had an appointment booked for a phone appointment booked for August the 22nd. Now, on August the 9th, the head diabetes nurse from my clinic phoned me up, and it was an urgent phone call. So I thought I'd made a horrendous mistake and I had made things far worse. So I asked her, should I be worried about this? And she said, no. She said quite the opposite. She said, this is an urgent phone call because I just need to know what you've done, because you have totally reversed type 2 diabetes. In the UK, we do it in old millimeters per litre or something like that. And the threshold for diabetes is 48. Now, in March, I was 50, so I was only just into it, but I was still type 2 diabetic. And then when I went back in August, I'd actually reduced my HbA1c to 36 mmol, which is 6 points below pre-diabetes. So it was an utterly amazing result as far as they were concerned. And also, obviously, my weight had come down quite a bit by that time. And not only that, but I'm very lucky to have a very forward-thinking team at my clinic, because my HDL, high-density lipoprotein, had gone through the roof. My triglycerides, I smashed from 4.7 to 1.2, again, the UK measurement. And my LDL had also gone through the roof. Now, as we know, most doctors will say, oh, this is really bad. But she actually said, don't worry about it. She said, we're only interested here in the HDL to triglyceride ratio, and yours is superb. We can just ignore the LDL. I should point out that actually I never cashed in on the prescriptions for the metformin and statins. I threw them away. So I am a customer to the pharmaceutical industry, but I'm a patient cured. So it's yeah, they were pleased, but I'm not quite sure. No doctor has spoken to me since. And the other thing, actually, I will point out is that no doctor ever, when they diagnosed me with metabolic syndrome, nobody called it metabolic syndrome. Nobody told me about insulin resistance. Nobody mentioned the word hyperinsulinemia. So they just told me I had type 2 diabetes and was morbidly obese. Take some medicines, for God's sake, you know. So it was all my own research that I discovered insulin resistance. And then obviously I went through people like Dr. Jason Fung and people like that when I found YouTube. But it was very much, I was left on my own. It was my own research which allowed me to actually reverse type 2 diabetes. So yeah, so I can't give too much credit to the NHS, other than that nurse Kathy, who told me that savoury carbohydrates were equally sugary as sweet carbohydrates.
Actually, that nurse is worth her weight in gold, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I owe my life to several people. Max, my workmate, who talked about keto, but Nurse Kathy is definitely right up there with one of the people who saved my life. Because I was a heart attack when it happened, Dave. I was massively overweight, and I'd lost two friends in the previous 2 months. One who was 59, another was 69, to sudden cardiovascular events. And again, they were clearly, now in hindsight, were insulin resistant because they also put on a lot of weight. You know, one of them was ex-Royal Marine, who was very, very fit in his youth, but he put on a lot of weight before he died, as did my other friend, who sadly dropped dead in the January of that year. I was heading the same way. So basically, I think that there's a group of people who saved my life: the hairy bikers, Professor Roy Taylor, my colleague Max, and Nurse Kathy. They have to be the people who set me on the road to healing myself. So yeah, thanks to them.
What else besides, I mean, firstly, congratulations on reversing the type 2 diabetes, or as they may say in the medical profession, putting your diabetes into remission.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
And also, just getting over that's a massive hurdle to cross. What else has improved for you in the time that you've been eating this way?
Okay, so my story is the same as everybody else's, and it's not exactly boring, but it's getting a bit repetitive now because we're all finding the same results. Back in 2020, during the COVID, when I think I was probably eating too much because I was bored, I noticed I had really bad fungal infections. The tinea, I think it's called, which is commonly known as athlete's foot drop itch, and tinea corporis, which is the fungal infection on your body. That's all gone. I haven't had a single fungal infection since. Like Kelly Hogan, I was suffering badly from boils when I was overweight. They were all gone, absolutely cleared up. So the skin problems are all gone. But probably for me, the happiest one, if you like, is the fact that I've got no more IBS. So I've had IBS all of my life. So the usual bloating, constipation, flatulence, and all the other problems that go with it. Once I discovered, I've got to hand the credit here to Paul Mason, to Zoe Harkin, because they flagged up the how bad fibre is for you. So when I got rid of the fibre, the IBS went away as well. But there's been others. I used to suffer from TMJD, which is a mandibular jaw disorder. I haven't had that for ages. I used to suffer from really bad sudden sets of cramp in my ribs, which I think the Americans call Charlie horse. And I suddenly realised the other day I hadn't had one of those for a long time. I can walk again. My knees are the last things coming back, but they're almost back now. But I'm still walking a bit stiff, but not without the pain. I had the joint pain, and also the muscular pain in my thighs, which was like shooting pains whenever I put my foot down too heavily. And I had to take the stairs one step at a time. And getting dressed in the morning was a nightmare. I had to sit down to put everything on. I had to. Life was a struggle. Life was a real struggle, and obviously my mental health was really bad because of that. But now life is almost back to normal. I don't think I'm ever going to be a runner again, which I was in my youth. I don't think I'm ever going to play rugby again. But certainly walking is no longer the unpleasant experience as it was when I was seriously metabolically ill. So yeah, mine is the story. You've heard the story how many times a day from people sat in my chair, and I watched it so many times on your own channel, all the other channels which I follow. So yeah, it's I say we won't call it boring, but we will call it repetitive because we're all the same. We're all having massive great success stories, which is Carnivore. I'm not a religious guy, but if there is a miracle out there, it is Carnivore. There's no question about it.
Yeah. So, congratulations on all those improvements. And yeah, it is repetitive, but I think it's important to go through them simply because, for the skeptical people out there that may want to try but think, it's not going to work for me, it's important that they hear that, everyone
Absolutely,
improves these things.
yeah.
Yeah.
Can I just say that when it comes to spreading the word, we've here in the UK we were quite a long way behind, certainly America, and perhaps Australia as well, because obviously you've got David Charles, you probably know, that Learning to Live, and we were very slow to actually get going. But we've had an explosion in the last month or so. We got UK Carnivore guy Paul, who has set up a couple of WhatsApp groups. We're kind of I'm in the small core group, if you like, the group of 10 of us, the originals. But he opened it up to he opened up a much bigger one the other day, and we have had literally an explosion of newbies who've introduced themselves. And they are new carnivores, a lot of new carnivores, and they're very talkative on WhatsApp, to say the least. But as we know, when you discover carnivore, all you want to do is talk about it. You just want to spread the word. So yeah, there's no question that it might be repetitive, but the message is getting out there, and we're winning this war. And it is a war, as Larry on Carnivore Soldier points out. We are winning it one person at a time. And I think that we are in the ascendancy now. And will they stop us now? How can they stop us now? I don't know. If they actually take us off all the social media platforms, maybe that means that we can't communicate with each other. But then we find another way. I feel quite sure, because we're all friends in the carnivore world. It's like I don't think I've ever personally met any of the people on the WhatsApp group, but I feel that I know them. I think you've interviewed at least 3 of our little tribe on the 10-person group. I'm the 4th. I don't know if you remember doing the young blonde-haired lady Lauren, and Mike Tinian, who's ex-army, and I think you've done somebody else recently, Adam Polly. I think he's done it as well. So it's we're spreading the word, Dave, and we have to be grateful to people like you for that, because you've taken the risk of going virtually professional YouTuber now, as well as your TEFL skills. So yeah, thank you so much, Dave, for spreading the word, and we're here to support you.
No, thank you. And it's really cool to hear that, this is the first time I'm hearing about the WhatsApp group, but I know 4 members. That's really cool. Yeah. So George, just back on your story for a moment. In your life, how did the obesity start? Was it something that just crept up on you, or is that something that's always kind of been with you?
Absolutely not, because as I told you in my email, I wanted to introduce the world to a condition called macrosomia, to give it its Greek pronunciation, probably macrosomia, we'll call it in English. Is it something you've ever heard of, Dave?
No, not outside of your email.
No. Okay, so macrosomia is basically the Greek for big life, I think, but what it is big baby syndrome. Now, macrosomia or macrosomia is a definition of it is any baby that is born above the birth weight of £8 13 ounces or 4,000 grams. Now, I was born at 9.5 pounds, so I was 8 ounces over the threshold for macrosomia. Now, apparently, there's only 9 in every 100 births are macrosomic these days. Probably more nowadays. But I've done a little bit of research on it, and I was a classic case of a macrosomic baby, because my mother was 41. I was, shall we say, a surprise to put it on the polite side. I was too big for the birth canal, so I had to have a C-section. Mum then went on to develop breast cancer in later life, which is apparently quite common for mothers who give birth to macrosomic babies. And I cannot definitively say this, but I strongly suspect that she had gestational diabetes, but I'll never know because she's obviously passed away. And it probably wasn't, I don't know whether it was really sort of understood back in 1965, which is when I was born. I'm 58 years old now. So yeah, I came out of the womb as a big baby, and it was interesting. The thing which triggered me to think about it was the fact that when Dave Charles, DC Learning to Live, was doing an interview, I think with Larry the other day from Carnivore Soldier, he mentioned the fact that they're trying to get us addicted in the womb. And I suddenly realized I probably was, because I was a fat baby and I was a fat person all my life, to be perfectly honest with you. I've heard a couple of the carnivore influencers out there talking about their childhood in the 1970s. And you know that there was not the level of childhood obesity back in those days that we have nowadays. And they always mention, oh, there was always one fat kid in the class. Hey, guess what? I was the fatty in the class. At secondary school, my nickname, which is very kind, was Whale, because of the blubber I was holding. I was able to kind of use that to some good effect, because I'm sure you're familiar with the game of rugby, and I was a prop forward in rugby at school. So I was able to use that weight to some good purpose. And I was a real try, because my two older brothers, one of whom is 20 years older than me and one of whom is 10 years older than me, were both actually very good athletic runners. So I used to try extraordinarily hard. But no, I was obese from the moment I was born to until, well, in fact, to be honest with you, I'm still clinically obese, believe it or not, according to the BMI. But I'm certainly down to body composition and a weight now, which I'm more or less happy with. Maybe I could lose another 14 pounds, 6 kilograms, which I might do next summer. It's quite possible, because as probably most of us find, I've kept a record of my weight, and my weight tends to go down from spring onwards and then bounces around a bit in the winter. I'm bouncing between 87 kilograms and 90 kilograms at the moment. But that's down from 133 when I was weighed back in March of last year. So that is the 40 odd kilogram loss already, or 43 kilograms minimum. And obviously that's nearly 100 pounds. It's over 90 pounds. But the last time I actually weighed my correct BMI, I was 17. And that was when I really sort of had my first go at dieting. I did the 5-2 diet. Well, I didn't used to eat Monday and Tuesday. And then I was running twice a week and cycling and walking everywhere. And I went from 14 stone at the age of 17 down to 12. Primarily for vanity reasons, because at the age of 17 I realised I wanted some female attention and wasn't getting any. Thankfully, going down to that weight changed that, and I've had a fairly normal love life since. But that was my motivation then. And then since I've been a yo-yo dieter all my life, which has mainly been low calorie combined with serious exercise. I'm an ex-soldier, ex-rugby player, ex-ultramarathon athlete. So that kind of helped me, but I always put the weight back on. So what would happen is that whenever I had a major event coming up, then I would get back down, then I'd go back on again. And it's not until now that I've discovered Carnivore that the weight has fallen off. I've lost, as I said, 43 kilos, 7 stone, 90 odd pounds, whichever way you want to measure it. And yeah, here I am, and I'm maintaining it as well. So there's no danger of going back on, because it's simply, it's off, and as far as I can see, with Carnivore, it will stay off. My wife occasionally jokes, well, this Carnivore diet's going to come back and kick you in the arse, but it hasn't yet. And for Kelly Hogan and many other people, it hasn't yet either. So yeah, so that's where we are.
Nice. So is your wife joining you on this?
Right. Okay. This is quite a long story. When first I decided to go carnivore, she was, shall we say, skeptical, to say the least. She thought I was joining. She thought I was joining a cult, an American cult. Like the various ones that are out there, and that I would be conned out of a lot of money to pay for it, and that sort of thing. So yeah, went from being a carnivore skeptic and afraid of carnivore for various different reasons, mainly for the carb reasons, to now being not exactly, well, she's not a carnivore herself, but she's much more ketogenic. Well, no, she's much more moderate carb than she was, mainly because we don't buy all the crap that I used to eat, all the cakes and the biscuits, the crisps, the chocolate, etc., etc., etc. No more pizzas, no more takeaways. So yeah, so she has naturally sort of gone with me, but her own story is slightly different. She has no gallbladder, for example. She is in remission from breast cancer at the moment, so she feels a need to eat carbs because she lost a lot of weight on the cancer. So if anything, she's trying to use carbohydrates to put that weight back on, which she understands. But no, she's absolutely primarily a meat eater now. Premium meats, because we save so much money on not buying the utter shit that we used to eat, then we can afford to actually get really good quality meat most of the time. So yeah, she's a great enthusiast for that. The other thing I've got to say about Lainey as well, Lainey is my wife, by the way, is she's now she recognises she said that the carnivore is the best thing that's ever happened to me health wise. But our great friend Larry Allhands, who I think we know as Carnivore Soldier, I think I've seen you working with him, Dave. He introduced us to the idea of the air fryer. Now we not really thought about the air fryer too much, but we went and bought one. We went for the top of the range, or not top of the range, but a really good one for about 3 times the price of the Draw Ninja. And it's kind of like an oven. It's not a drawer thing; it's a shelf thing. And she is absolutely an air fry convert. So we kind of we are living in carnivore air fryer harmony in this household at the moment, which is nice. Peace has broken out, and she's on various different Facebook groups for the air fryers, and she's a total convert to it now. And she could, because it's quite a big oven-like affair, we are able to cook nearly everything in it, apart from maybe an ostrich. But the oven is now very cold and very lonely and very jealous. So the oven doesn't really get to come out and play very much anymore.
Nice, really nice. I've still got to try the air fryer myself. I've got to take the plunge and buy one.
Yeah, Lainey's recommendation would be to go for the shelf type one rather than the drawer type one, because the drawer type one is great for chips and sausages. When I say chips, I mean I think hot chips, you call them Australian potato chip, and great for sausages and burgers and that sort of thing. But if you want to actually cook premium meats, go for the more expensive version, which is the shelf one, which looks more like an oven, and that has also got a rotisserie in it, so it means we can rotate a whole chicken, for example. So yeah, it's worth spending the money. It's worth spending the money.
Nice. So what part of the UK are you in, George?
I am in the southwest of the UK, in a little town called Bridgewater in the county of Somerset, and it's on the main M5 motorway, and I'm halfway between the 2 cities of Bristol and Exeter, which are the two cities nearest to us, I suppose.
Exeter's got horse racing, right? Is that
right? It does, actually, yes. Yeah. Did I mention to you that I'm a horse racing enthusiast? Or I don't think I did, actually. So well done for flagging that one up.
No. Yeah, I used to have to get the Sporting Post every week for part of my job. So yeah, I remember all the names and the measurements in furlongs and all this kind of thing, you know.
That's correct. That's right. Yeah. So
Yeah.
horse racing before Carnivore, horse racing was my absolute passion. I do a bit of volunteer work for a local racing stable, and I'm a bloodstock researcher for them. So when they want to know about the genetic, like the potential genetic makeup of something they're buying, they ask me for advice on the sales and where, you know, what ground would it like, how far would it run, has it got speed in the pedigree, those sort of things. It's pretty much a voluntary thing, but I get to go racing for free because of it. So like I get the owners and trainers badges, and actually not long ago I was an expert in the owners and trainers facility, if you like. So yeah, so it's a good relationship. I give them a bit of my knowledge, and they allow me to go along as part of the stable stuff.
Oh wow. So I'll tell you my horse racing story. On in when was it? 1995. I lived in London,
Right.
and I worked Monday through Saturday, and
Yeah.
Saturday was just like a half day. And
Yeah.
I'd finish work at lunchtime Saturday, and my boss and I would go down to the pub, and we'd be sitting in the pub and having a drink, watching the races. And he would just give me like, he was pretty well to do. He'd give me like 500 quid or something and say, go up to Ladbrokes and put this on such and such a horse. And I'd go up and I'd put it on the horse, and if it won, he would just give me a cut. So
Yeah.
like there was like so many Saturdays that I came home from the pub, you know, and I'm like counting hundreds of pounds, and it was like I was in my early 20s, and I'm like, this is amazing. But
Yeah.
of
Absolutely.
course, you know, it doesn't last
Yeah.
forever. Horse racing is not a particularly good investment scheme. So
No, it's not, but it's true. My friends in the stables, they over the years been very good at getting big prize winners. When I say, yeah, actually big prize winners, 50 to 1 winners and everything. And certainly myself and my racing colleague, we pulled off quite a major gambling coup a few years ago by taking advantage of the bookies' incentive schemes to get you to join them. Because they on this particular occasion, they said, if you open an account and we will match your first bet up to £200. So we all opened accounts, and then we all did the £200 bet, which was underwritten by my wealthy horse racing friend, and so the horse in question won at 16 to 1 that night. So we pretty much cleaned up, which was very nice. But there have been some failures as well. Obviously, as you say, it's not a good long-term investment.
yeah.
We still dabble, and we're up this year, so it's not by a huge
Oh,
amount,
nice.
but by enough.
Yeah. So back on the carnivore, um, how often are you eating during the day?
At the moment, I'm on two meals a day. I keep on. I've been changing it up for a long time. And I've been doing. I'm still transitioning really. Back along when I did my interview with Carnivore Soldier, I was eating at work and I was eating the wrong sort of stuff. And to be fair to Larry, he went on and put a follow-up video the next day and said, I'm reluctant to tell George that he's wrong because he's had such success, so how can I criticise him when it massive success? But it kind of made me think about what I was doing. And I've transitioned again more to the what they call the lion diet, so ruminant meat. But so I'm eating during the week now. I'm having an early breakfast, 05:30. I have half a pound of minced beef or ground beef, depending on which side of the pond you are, and I add to that 3 eggs. So that's my breakfast. I now no longer feel the need to take any food with me to work. I just drink water during the day. And then when I get home, it all depends on how hungry I am. Sometimes I can just get away with a mug of Bovril, which is a kind of meaty Marmite stroke Vegemite, depending on which side of the world you're on. Or I might even have another half pound of the minced beef with more eggs. I might have a bit of carnivore junk food, which if I'm not at all hungry, which is pork rinds or pork scratchings here, which are obviously zero carb, but they are kind of a junk food. But if I've just got a slight hunger, I'll have those. So that's it really. So I'm really at the moment 2 meals a day, breakfast and an evening meal. Most Mondays I do a 36-hour fast from the Sunday evening meal to the Tuesday morning breakfast. However, I'm finding that with the weather here in the winter, obviously we're in the winter, I'm getting too hungry on Monday. So I've dropped the fasting on a Monday now until probably next spring. Obviously, we know the value of fasting is about autophagy, which helps me to put my body into repair mode after a weekend when I have been abusing it, because I think we're going to come on to that a little bit later. But no, that's so yeah, two meals a day, and I'm pretty much down to ground beef and eggs during the week. Occasional bacon. The other thing I eat is smoked mackerel, which is the Atlantic mackerel, which is common to this country, and they are wild fish, so there's no chemicals in them apart from the heavy lead, which also they pick up in the Atlantic. But they're full of omega-3 fat, so they are a wild omega-3 rich fish, and they're very filling as well. So yeah, that's kind of a change-up meal during the week for me. Maybe once a week is just a change-up from the minced beef. But I'm pretty clean now compared to what I was when I was talking to Larry even back in September. So there we go.
Nice. So where do you see this going? Is this just the way you're going to carry on going forward, or do
absolutely.
you see this changing?
All of us are fairly new to this, unless you're Kelly Hogan or Dr. Anthony Chaffee or a few other people who've been around a long time. We are all N equals 1. We are all our own experiments. Now, none of us really know what the long-term effects will be. We can look at Kelly and think, yeah, great, that'll be me. So yeah, but for me, my mindset now is I'm carnivore for life. This is my lifestyle forever until, as my wife likes to tease me, it comes back and bites me on the arse, or bites us all on the arse, But that's down the line, isn't it? And if it all does go horribly wrong in 5 years' time, we all start dropping dead of heart attack because our LDL's too high, or we all start dropping dead of colon cancer, then obviously we're going to have to change our attitude, aren't we? There's no question about that. But I don't believe that's going to happen. So yeah, this is me for life now, basically.
George, you said something there talking about food, about abusing your body over the weekend or something. Could you elaborate on that, please?
Absolutely, yeah. Okay, so probably I'm a bit of an outlier in the carnivore world, because most of us do this to improve our health, and that's what I've done, and my health has improved massively. I've reversed everything. So here comes the controversial subject of alcohol. Okay, so a disclaimer here. The best practice for optimal health is to not drink alcohol. I'll say that again. The best practice for optimal health is to not drink alcohol. However, alcohol has been so much part of my culture, and is still part of the culture here in Britain, based around rugby. We're very much a drinking culture. I was a soldier for 8 years, very much a drinking culture there. You get subsidised alcohol, and the NAFI, as it's called. And basically, here in Britain, we have a very different pub culture to what you have in Australia, and what our friends from across the pond in America have as well. We have had a centuries-old pub culture here in the UK, and basically every town has lots and lots of pubs, which are all within walking distance. When I finish this interview, this is coming on a Sunday lunchtime, I will be going out to my local pub, which is approximately 350 metres away from my front door. So I don't have to get into a car, I don't have to risk drink driving, and I'll go up and meet my little community of drinking friends, and which I find very good for my mental health, to be perfectly honest. Not so good for my physical health, maybe, but having said that, I'm not in, my metabolic health is good, even though I'm still drinking probably twice the amount which the NHS alcohol police would want me to drink. And I'm a bit of a confounder, because every time I go back to, I've been to the NHS, my liver function has been fine. I've got a theory that alcohol gets the blame for what fructose did, because the liver has to process fructose in the same way as it processes alcohol. So as long as I don't overwhelm my liver by ethanol and fructose, the liver seems to be coping quite nicely, thank you, with the ethanol. The other thing is the beer belly. Is that a term which is familiar with you, Dave? Do they have that?
Yeah, very familiar. Yeah. I used to have one of those.
Exactly. But was it a beer belly, Dave? Because I used to have a massive belly, but I haven't anymore. It's the flattest it's been. But I'm still an alcohol abuser. So is there such a thing? Is there such a thing as a beer belly? I don't think so. I think there's carbohydrate in your fructose belly. Because basically,
Well,
I don't know about you guys, but here in the UK, when we go out for a good session, as we used to call it, it usually ends with a carb craving, which can only be satisfied with a pizza, a curry and rice, pasta, kebab with a bit of bread. So basically, people drink a lot of carbs, but then they stuff more carbs into their face because you get the beer munchies, the beer hunger. Now, I might not be disciplined over alcohol, but I'm ultra disciplined when it comes to getting the beer munchies. So yeah, I don't cave into any carb craving then. If I'm hungry, and I go back to my cold meats in the fridge, I just get another half pound of minced beef and eat that. So, as I said, my beer belly in parentheses has completely disappeared. I now have the fattest belly of my life, apart from when I was in basic training in the army. So no, I don't think beer belly is the correct name for it. I think it should be called carb belly or even fructose belly, to be perfectly honest with you. That's my own personal opinion.
That makes a lot of sense, actually, when you think about it. Like the first time I did Atkins 20 odd years ago, I was still drinking at that time and I still lost all the weight. I still got rid of the belly. But
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
interesting. Yeah.
yeah. The other point I want to make about alcohol, as I said, I've already done the disclaimer, but we are in the carnivore industry at a risk of going down the dogmatic route of almost like the religious fervor route when it comes to alcohol. And I just want to reassure everybody out there who might watch this, who might think, well, what about alcohol? Because I like a drink. There is no such thing as a carnivore police. There are no laws. There are certain guidelines, but basically we are all our own experiment. So if you carry on drinking, you want to go on carnivore and you carry on drinking and it doesn't work, so it makes you feel really ill, give up the drinking. But if, like me, I transitioned from keto, low carb keto through to carnivore, or carrying on drinking, and it's had very little effect on me, to say the least. I still get the occasional hangover if I drink too much red wine. Oh, God, what an idiot. But that's it, really. But the actual metabolic side of things, it hasn't really proven a hindrance to me. If in the future it does, then I will definitely take measures. One thing I will say is, because I've depleted my glycogen stores, which soak up alcohol, it's kind of self-regulating now because I get drunk quicker. So I can't drink as much as I used to, because it just, I recognise now when I start feeling a bit woozy, if you like, and a bit sort of dizzy, then it's time to stop. So I do. Again, I'm not.
And it goes to your head quicker than it would before.
It does. Yeah, of course, because obviously there's no glycogen stores for it to soak it up. So, I'm not this hopeless alcoholic who drinks a bottle of whiskey a day. I tend to not to drink Monday to Friday. Occasionally Friday evenings I will do. But it tends to be Saturday afternoons and Sunday afternoons, because we're getting old now. We don't go out at night anymore, but we do like to hang out with our geriatric mates down the pub on a Saturday afternoon and Sunday afternoon. But that's it, really. So yeah, but I still drink far too much as far as the NHS are concerned. But as I said, I like to rub their noses in it every time I go and see them, because basically I am one of these confounding elements out there that I'm actually going against their beliefs. I'm proving them wrong, if you like. So yeah, so that's me and alcohol, and I would not want to give up the alcohol, mainly not for the alcohol itself, but for the social side of it. Oh, just one thing to point out. You have to, when on alcohol and carnivore, you have to be very mindful of the carbs you are drinking. Now I am, so I've done a bit of research, discovered that the lowest beer, which is a blonde beer or a lager, is Carling in this country. And it's not very high alcohol, it's 3.7%. But I've done quite a lot of research on the wines as well, because I'm a wine drinker. And I've discovered that Sauvignon Blanc on the white side is quite low in carbohydrates and sugar. And the Pinot Noir on the red side is quite a low carbohydrate. So yeah, I don't drink anything like cocktails or fruit juices or fruit juice mixers or Coca-Cola mixers or anything. And I drink very few spirits nowadays anyway. But yeah, when I'm in the pub, I drink Carling lager, and then when I'm home, I usually drink either white wine, Sauvignon Blanc in the summer, or Pinot Noir in the winter when I'm sat by the fire with a nice leg of pork or a nice rump steak in front of me, for example. So yeah, that pretty much wraps up the subject of alcohol. I think it's quite an important subject to cover, because as I said, there is a danger in the carnivore world that dogma is taking over, which is saying, "Oh, you mustn't drink alcohol." Actually, remember, on carnivore we have personal choice. It's how we feel about it, and that is, the message I want to get out there to anybody who wants to carry on having a drink on carnivore.
So, George, do you have an Instagram or a Facebook or a YouTube or anything if people want to reach out to you?
No, absolutely not. Right, okay. So if anybody does want to reach out to me, please reach out on one of my WhatsApp group YouTubers. The daddy of the group, if you like, is Paul at UK Carnivore Guy. So basically he's kind of our administrator, if you like. So if anybody needs to ask me a question, then feed it to Paul on his channel, whatever, and then he will feed it to me on the WhatsApp group, and it will get answered. Basically, for example, if there's a question for me on his channel, then and he flags up to me, then I'll go onto his comments and I'll answer any questions that are directed at me. But at the end of the day, I don't think there's much, unless it's on alcohol or macrosomia. Actually, perhaps there will be some questions on it. So yeah. But yeah, go on Paul's channel. If you comment on that, then obviously that helps him build the message. So I'm sure he'd be quite happy with that. He'll probably then contact me on WhatsApp group, say there's a question for you on my channel, and I will go onto his channel and answer it. So that's the best way. I don't do Facebook. I don't do Instagram. The only social media I'm on is that WhatsApp group. We have quite a large WhatsApp group. I don't know whether you can. I think you can join from abroad actually, because I noticed there was a strange phone number appeared on this morning at 5 o'clock, which is so. I imagine that was probably somebody from abroad. But again, if you are interested in joining our bigger WhatsApp group, then again because Paul's the carnivore daddy on that group. He's got lots and lots of new baby carnivores and who are in their first week, in their first month, and he kind of looks after them on that. So yeah, again, you can get in contact with us through that WhatsApp group. Again, go onto UK Carnivore Guy Paul and ask him how to get onto it really. And the more the merrier, as we know with carnivore.
Awesome. So, George, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story with us. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, thank you very much for having me on, because what you're doing out there, Dave, is amazing. I would like to keep up with all your videos, but you are so prolific that I find it very hard to do so. In fact, I noticed this morning that you actually did one with Nicole from the Fat Girl, and that is on my to-do list. But as I said, trying to keep up with all of our UK YouTubers, trying to keep up with Larry on Carnival Soldier, because I've been with him since virtually day one. In fact, I've got one of his shirts on here, the Carnival Soldier Brazilian Warrior, because I did Mission Carnival with him, and he sends everybody who does Mission Carnival with him one of these shirts. And then there's you've got DC Learning to Live, Mitch, the old guy Carnival. Everybody's prolific, so it's trying to keep up, trying to find enough hours in the day there. So this is the reason why I wouldn't even consider doing YouTube myself, because I regard it as my role is to be across all of you and to flag up to people the important messages out there. And yeah, it seems to be working. This is my third YouTube interview I've given, so I'm doing my bit in the fight, and I'm spreading the word at work. I've got quite a few potential new baby carnivores, as I call them, at work. They're very interested because they've seen, they've seen the results on me, and they want to try it for themselves. So, the message is getting out there.